Call the meeting to order now. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Paulette Frias.
Here.
Judy Boucher.
Here.
John Sweet.
Here.
Scott Latham.
Here.
Brian Tobin.
Here.
In the event of an emergency, visitors are advised that they may exit this room from the one side door which leads directly into the parking lot. In the event of an emergency, everyone is asked to move away from the building and do not attempt to leave in your automobile, since this may cause traffic problems and block incoming emergency vehicles. Okay, I'd like to
For our audience.
do the oath of office with our new board member, newly elected board member, I should say.
Right here, right?
Yes.
Do you understand?
I, Judy Boucher,
I, Judy Boucher,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support the Constitution of the United States
that I support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I faithfully discharge
the duties of member
the duties of member
of the Board of Education
of the Board of
of
Education
the Southold Union Free School District
of the Southold Union Free School District
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities. As long as you don't read too much. You know, because you're reading words.
Okay, thank you. Now, for Superintendent? Yep. I, Anthony Morrow,
I, Anthony Morrow,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Superintendent
the duties of Superintendent
of the Southold Union Free School District
of the Southold Union Free School District
according to the best of my ability.
Never even asked, do any of them want the positions?
Okay.
We asked them if they want.
I haven't asked. I was in the city today.
Interested in these positions? Are you interested in these positions, President or Vice President?
You want to go some? We in a city today?
We do that.
The way it is, right?
So at this time,
Yep.
so at this time, are there any nominations for President of the Board of Education?
I nominate Paulette Frias. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. We'll turn the meeting over to you now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. First you left, oh no, you don't have to. Go ahead. You go to Vice President.
Is there a nomination for Vice President of the Board?
Judy Boucher. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, or my sympathies.
That's why you don't miss this meeting.
Yeah, you could be president.
You're up.
Oh.
I gotta read another one.
Right hand or something like that.
I, Paulette Frias,
I, Paulette Frias,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of President
the duties of President
of the Board of Education.
You staying on
Board of
finance with
Education
me?
Of the Southold
Yeah.
Union Free School
of the
District.
Southold Union Free School District,
According to the best of my
according to the best of my ability.
And what?
Building.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not interested in anything else.
I, Judy Boucher,
I, Judy Boucher,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of
Even
the
though I
United States
butcher everybody's name on
the
this,
Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Vice President
the duties of Vice President
of the Board of Education
of the Board of Education
of the Southold Union Free School District.
I'm sure there's a million differences. To me, it's one big fucking
to the best of my abilities.
nonsense.
Yeah. Like I'm a natural doctor of naturopathy.
So we are
just like the guy in, yeah.
That brings us to,
His car says, whatever his name is, DVM PhD.
oh,
P-
we need a motion for the authorization of the vice president to act in legal matters in the absence of the president.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Appointment of officers. District Treasurer Erica Frank, Clerk of the Board Patricia D. Gregorio, Claims Auditor Serini and Associates, oath of, oh, you're going to do that oath to, somebody's got to do the oath to Patty?
Yes.
Does Tony do the oath to you now, Patty? Okay, and one
Do we have a
more.
motion for those? I'm sorry.
Wait, one more. The Board of Registrars, which is Jennifer Brewer and Patricia D. Gregorio.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Take that oath, Patty.
And then we do Erica's tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll do Erica.
I, Patricia D. Gregorio,
I, Patricia D. Gregorio,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
Yes,
swear
Debbie.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the
Right,
State
and
of New
we'll,
York,
we'll mention
that
that.
I will fully, faithfully discharge
Matt.
the duties of District Clerk of the Southold Union Free School District according to the best of my ability.
You wrote it.
I don't know. All right, you know what?
And then you can just sign here.
Okay. You know where the... Okay, other appointments, I'll do some by name, but others are a little lengthy. Okay, school physicians are Peconic Bay Primary Medical, school attorney is Ingerman Smith, school architect is Michael Guido, bond attorneys Hawkins, Delafield, and Wood, fiscal advisors Monistat Services, the independent auditors are Cullen and Danaski LLP. Extra, this is all one, right, Patty?
Yeah, you can do it all in one motion. It's-
Okay. Extra Classroom Activities Fund, grades K through 6, Chief Faculty Advisors Ellen Waldron O'Neill. 7 to 12 is Chief Faculty Advisors Terrence Rush. And K through 12 Central Treasurer is Erica Frank. Junior, senior high activities, I'll read through them, and then I think we just have some questions and comments maybe about them. Band Fund, Music Fund, National Honor Society, SAD. Doesn't SAD have a... No, okay. High School Student Council, Junior High Yearbook, GSA/SAFER, Quiz Bowl, Ambassador Club, Environmental Club, Cheerleading. Class of 2024, 2026, General Fund, Chorus Fund, Drama Fund, Interact Club, Snuffbox High School Yearbook, The Sentinel, Junior High Student Council, First Robotics Club, Wellness Club, Virtual Enterprise, Broadcast Media Club, Class of 2023, Class of 2025, Class of 2027, and that was junior, senior high school. In the elementary, Drama, Student Council, and Class of 2028.
SAD is Southold United. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
That is Southold United.
Okay, I thought that was, okay, thank you.
So we'll change that. I have a question about what band, music, and chorus and drama fund are. I've never seen those before. I know we have a drama club, but what is band, music, and chorus fund?
So there are times where, say, our band will want to purchase T-shirts, and they'll raise money to do that. The only way that you can raise money in New York State, and Chuck, you correct me, or you can give the particulars, but the only way that we're allowed to raise money is through taxes or state aid.
Right.
You have to be an approved club or group with a charter that allows you to fundraise, to raise money to, say, buy T-shirts
Right.
for a chorus, for a band, for things like that. So we approve all of them so that they have the ability to do that. That doesn't necessarily mean they will. There's many years where they don't do any fundraising because they may not march in a parade, they may not, they may just wear their black and white outfits or whatever. it may be, yeah.
By law, don't all these clubs, if they do raise money, don't they have to have a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer?
They have to have a charter that identifies all the different people that you have to have, yes.
Yeah, we found that out
Right, but
years ago. in the-
do they have to have those in all their charters? And I guess my question is, do we have all of those for these, or will we if we establish them?
If they're going to fundraise, they have to establish
Okay,
that.
and is drama fund now the replacement for the drama club?
It's the drama club fund, yeah. I don't know why the word club got knocked out.
And I guess my question is I didn't know if in the past, the drama club, are they following all that, where they have like a president and a vice president, secretary, and a treasurer? I'm just curious, because I know that is the intention of New York State educationally for those. So, yeah, and that's fine. And what is, underneath there, it says general fund. What's that one? Is that class of 2020, are those, it says general fund under junior, senior high activities.
The last one.
Way at the bottom.
Below 2026.
I'm not exactly sure.
Was that just like a mistake of, you know what I mean? Does that belong there?
These are the ones that have been on the agenda for.
I don't ever remember
I don't remember
seeing
general fund
general
either,
fund.
no.
Well, I didn't add anything, so it's been that way.
Under activities, though, it's,
Yeah.
see, there's a difference between funds and activities. I think
Right,
that's
right.
probably some of,
Yeah, absolutely. The activity coordinators are later
Yeah.
on in the.
right.
Right, I mean, I think unless anybody knows what general fund is, I think we need to take that out. I mean,
Okay, so let's remove general fund.
There are, we did our review, we had this conversation, because I've never seen it done like this before. The way that I've seen it done is when you give a charter in, then you go on the agenda. And the
Right.
charter has to be reviewed and have all the different
That's what I
officers
think.
and-
That's what we think would
We're
should
putting
be.
the cart before the horse, aren't we?
And it seems that we've always done it that way.
Right.
Because
Okay.
Patty was good enough to look back at, 10 years or however many years of these things.
Yeah.
Because I had a,
Right, let's do it right, even though,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
I
can we,
agree.
If
you know,
somebody
we,
decides they want to raise money for the band, then.
they have to go through the whole process.
Yeah.
it's not even a lengthy process. Charter's about 3 pages long.
Exactly.
You have to elect your people. It's just the correct legal way of doing it.
Doing
I'm
it.
sure that everybody did it the correct legal way. We
Sure,
just
but-
approved groups that didn't because they didn't bother fundraising.
Right.
So they were approved to, and they may not have done it. So there's
Right.
probably a number of,
Of groups that are not active.
yes, like
And,
for
and
instance.
we're aware of that we've had, and names on here that may not be active during the year or whatever, and that's fine.
Maybe we
My
should-
other question is, I think we've asked for this in the past, and not necessarily with you, but ongoing, so if we could put this on the docket, we would like to get an actual, report on these clubs in terms of,
CAF account report.
and I'm not talking about financials, we see the financials, but
More
what are
about
they doing?
interest.
Participation, what kinds of activities? I do think that any club that is being approved and we're paying an advisor to do, we should have a general idea of what they've accomplished during the year.
Can I suggest maybe, I think what confuses me is there's a difference between activities and clubs with funds associated with them. For instance, Quiz Bowl doesn't necessarily, that's an activity, that's an that's a club. The class of 2024 raises funds for the next several years, or however many years till they
It can be-
graduate.
Yeah, it can be a little confusing.
So maybe the funds should be separated from the activities, or,
Yeah, we could do that too.
like the
Process,
wellness
yeah.
club is the wellness club, then we're going to appoint later in the agenda an advisor for the wellness club. But it's under activities, so,
I think activities is encompassing all of these different
Right,
things.
right.
But maybe in the future, next
be
time
cleaner.
we do this, those that are fundraising clubs that
Have
have
financials
potential to
attached
fight
to
for
them.
financials, fundraising, and those that are activities that we're simply providing an advisor for it, and there's no other financial impact, you know what I mean? They're not
Right.
gonna hit the extracurricular books because they're not doing anything like that.
because cheerleading is now a sport in the athletics, so why is it
Why
an
do they have a
activity
club?
and a club? It's no longer,
But if it's a separate club to support, like you said, the other things that they want to do that are outside the
Right.
budget process, that's fine, but then that's
and
what that.
virtual enterprise is a class. So if we're doing this because of the funding,
Yeah.
it's,
Virtual
Do you know what I'm
enterprise is it's a
saying?
class
It's a class
that
now.
needs funding at times.
Right.
Because they they do stuff above the class if they qualify, like.
Right.
So that's my point, is
National,
activities
yeah.
should be
So
separated
maybe
from
we,
funds
yeah,
almost.
I understand.
I mean, I have no problem approving them, but I think we
I
need
don't
to
either.
just as we move forward, we have so many more and they change.
We
I
should
think
clean
we
it.
need to get a good
I
report
think it's
on
a
what
good
they're
idea.
doing and the interest level and what they are actually doing during the year, put it this way, if the club is there and it's active and we're paying an advisor, I think, we owe it to ourselves and the taxpayers to know what is being accomplished in those clubs. If it's there on our list, but it's not active, so therefore we're not paying an advisor, then it's just there just in case kids are interested. I get that, but I think for those, we're spending money.
So to proceed now,
We're just taking out general fund and changing SAD to Southold
and
United.
then we'll leave the rest and approve them
We'll
this
leave the
way, and
rest.
in the future, we'll separate them.
Yeah.
clean it up.
And we'll make sure that we're following policy, state policy and procedure on
My
all
other,
of them.
is 2028, are they the incoming seventh graders? And if I'm counting it on my
Yeah,
fingers, they
but
should
so-
be on the junior, senior high school activities, right?
Participating first.
This was what we
Oh,
talked
right,
about.
right, okay.
So make a note too, the class of 2028 comes out of elementary and goes over to the junior, senior high school, because they'll be incoming seventh graders,
Oh, yes,
right?
they're listed on the wrong, they're listed.
They're listed incorrectly
Yeah.
under elementary,
Okay, perfect. Okay,
right?
yeah, so, all right.
Okay.
No problem with it now. And then we
So
keep
we'll
going.
keep going?
We got a lot of sevens.
Yeah, and I'm not going to mention all these by names, but 7-8 is hearing officers from the SED list of authorized hearing officers. The Committee on Special Education is just several people. It's available if anybody wants it. Committee on Preschool Education is the same. We're looking to readopt Nassau-Suffolk County list of approved preschool programs for 3- and 4-year-olds. The Records Access Officer is Patricia DiGregorio. The FOILS Appeal Officer is Dr. Anthony Morrow. Records Management Officer is Patricia DiGregorio. Asbestos Designee is Anthony DeGrone. 504 Accommodation Compliance Officers, Dr. Lisa Seminetti. Title IX Officers, Dr. Anthony Morrow. Sexual Harassment Officers, Dr. Anthony Morrow. Purchasing Agent Charles Scheid. Data Privacy Officers, Ryan Case. Should we do those and then talk about committees?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion for all of those recommendations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, board committees. Have at it, guys. Policy.
I'll stay.
I'll stay.
So that's Scott.
Scott
and-
Chair.
And
I'll be the member.
I'll be finance as the chair. Brian?
You still want to do that, Brian?
Yep.
Okay. Building,
I'll stay.
I'll stay.
John
Brian.
is chair, Brian.
Matter to
Negotiating,
me.
negotiation team rep.
We'll stay, right?
Sure.
Which one of you guys is chair?
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, Scott and John.
Okay.
Is there any desire to have additional committees for any reason? No. Did you have different committees in your other districts that you think are necessary?
At
or?
times, nothing that I can think of is necessary.
And if you think that there's a need for it, we can do it throughout the year, but please don't hesitate.
Where is the thing for because Scott's on the safety committee.
Right, that's coming up.
Is that coming up sometime?
It is, it
Right,
is.
So it's not a board committee, it's more
No.
district committee.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's the board
Gotcha.
rep on the, yeah, yep, I saw that somewhere when I was looking,
Okay.
yep. Okay, so a motion for the board committees?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Our bank designations are Dime Savings Bank, Bank of America, Capital One Bank, Bank of New York. Also under the designations is the class account. We're looking regular meetings the fourth Wednesday of every month with the work session, second Wednesday quarterly. The official newspapers are the Times Review and the News, the Suffolk Times and the News Review. A motion for those designations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Authorizations, Chief School Officer to certify payrolls, Chief School Officer to approve budget transfers consistent with fiscal policy, application for federal and state funds, the Chief School Officer.
Chief school officer is you.
Yes.
All right, you're the second in chief school officer, okay.
District Treasurer to establish $100 petty cash fund. I have a question mark there because I don't know what you can do with $100 now. We talked last year about increasing
It
that.
hasn't changed, I know why it's still.
Do you think that there's a need to increase it?
Do we use it, Chuck?
Is it used?
Hardly ever.
Yeah, I have to tell you, it's rarely, there are many districts that, they've eliminated them. You know, they're
Yeah,
not,
because with,
Well, do you think we should eliminate it then? I mean,
I think it's good to have for some
Okay.
emergencies,
But
if you run to the store, hardware store or something.
And $100 will okay, all righty. I look at it, I'm thinking, I've been here a long time, that happened, $100 is.
The school lunch, you fill out the register, but
Okay, and the authorization for checks, $10,000 or under, either Erica Frank or Charles Scheid, and superintendent's signature as a second on all non-payroll checks over $10,000. In the absence of the superintendent, the assistant superintendent for business to sign. Chief school officer to authorize conferences, conventions, workshops, attendance. Authorization for assistant superintendent for business to make investment of school funds. Authorization for Monistat Services to act for the district as dissemination agent for annual SEC filing. Authorization for the board president to appoint impartial hearing officers on behalf of the board to meet time requirement. And the authorization for the following people to be signatories on the extracurricular accounts: Erica Frank, Charles Scheid, Terrence Rush, and Ellen O'Neill. Is there a motion for those authorizations?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The bonding of personnel. Be it resolved that the district maintains a blanket bond with $1 million per loss limit for employee dishonesty for all district employees and designated agents as written by the New York School Insurance Reciprocal for the period beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30th, 2023. Be and hereby is approved. Motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Other items. Readoption of all policies, authorizations, and code of ethics in effect during the previous year. Appointment of superintendent to make residency determinations. Follow IRS standard mileage rate for business. Establish, do we usually have to put a dollar amount for that?
the IRS?
Right, for the mileage reimburse?
No, because it fluctuates.
Changes.
Okay, because once upon a time, didn't we have to establish it?
Well, we establish it as the IRS rate now.
Rate,
Okay.
it gets
Oh,
established.
okay, I thought that, okay.
January changes usually every January.
Okay,
1st.
okay. Establish the tuition rate for New Suffolk students that shall increase at the annual school tax levy increase. Establish a meal allowance of a maximum of $45 per day for reimbursement. Receipts acceptable to the assistant superintendent of business must be attached to the expense voucher for reimbursement. Establish substitute teacher rate for certified teachers at $130 a day and non-certified teachers at $120 a day. Nurse substitute rate at $150 a day. Establish other substitute rates for teacher assistants, teacher aides, clerk typists, and custodians at 25 cents less the starting hourly rate in the current CSEA contract. Establish an out-of-district proctoring rate at $125 a day. Establish a rate for translation for CSEs and parent-teacher conferences at $210 for a full day, $105 for a half day, and establish rate for election workers, a daily rate of $105.
Is that for all elections? Or is that just
That's
budget
for
votes?
The budget vote. I have nothing
Okay.
to do with any other election
Okay.
other than the budget vote.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this brings us to our regular meeting. Our first hearing of visitors will be very short. And it brings us to our consent agenda, which is our minutes of the regular board meeting of June 22nd. And then our schedule of bills, the treasurer's report, and the monthly budget status report will be available at our August meeting. There are no transfers, and there's several contracted services. We are surplusing some books. There are no CSEs. And is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? Second. All in favor? Aye. Old business. I don't think we have any, right? Okay, that brings us to Dr. Morrow and the superintendent's report.
So, well, just on one note before I do, present the DSIP, our summer enrichment camp started yesterday. I got out there today for arrival and stuff, and the kids are really excited and having a lot of fun. We have a little bit higher enrollment this year than we had last year.
Really, that's interesting.
Yeah, we were, our initial enrollment was just about the same, and then we had about 10 or 15 more children, come on the first day and see if they can enroll, and they took all of them. So, and then I was talking to some of the teachers today, and they said that, the daily enrollment is a little bit higher right now. Now, 4 weeks and some heat and stuff, we'll see how that
Right,
holds up. But we gave people a lot more notice this time. Last time it was really, we found out about all this finance and we decided to do the camp, and it was only a couple weeks left in the summer, so people had plans. This time, we put out that we'd be doing it a couple months ago, and, that came off of, the survey we put out to parents at the end last year. One of the things they said is, that we have to make plans earlier. So we put it out much earlier, and, I think that allowed people to plan for it much
Is
better.
this being funded with COVID money, or is this?
Right now, it's fully funded by grant money.
So anybody that's involved in it, with the exception of the administrators, is being,
Nope, they're all, including the administrators.
oh, because wasn't that on our agenda last month?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're still
Because
being paid out of the
we don't
grant
have a
money.
Oh,
rate,
but they'd be,
yes.
okay. Yeah.
So every person that works at it, every piece of material, everything that we purchase for it, even, the tent that we have up there this year, we purchased rather than renting, because we kept them straight through the nice weather, and we used them as part of school, and it cost us more to rent them for 4 months than it did to buy these two. So we ended up purchasing 2 of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and I would hope that we would continue to put them up for,
For different events.
well,
That's
even
the-
just
yeah.
for the start of the school year when it's nice out
Well,
and.
we bought one for each school so that we can
Right.
keep them up again until the weather gets to
Yeah,
where we
because I
can,
think,
you know.
even if COVID's gone, I still think the more that we can do things
Absolutely.
outside with kids in the good weather, why
And
not?
that's the goal with them. We also plan on using them for different activities that go on, homecomings and different stuff like that. They can be moved into different areas and latched to the fence on one side and the grass on the other. And, this way, they're ours to use. So, the goal is that, the expectation is that we'll be using them.
Are
So-
the students that come to the camp every day, are they extended year service students, or are they just anybody that wants to come?
We have a full we also have an extended year program for students that have specific IEP needs over the summer, or 12-month students. These are any student in the district that wants to come. And really, we put it out K to 12 last year. We get K to 8, rising 8. The rising 9, current 8th graders don't come. And, we have a combination of, academic and intellectual activities and music and arts and crafts and sports, and we allow them to sign up. We limit them to no more than 2 sports, so they have to do something where they're using their minds and engaging in thought throughout the day. And they like it,
And it's enrolled students in our district.
They're enrolled students, so kids that are enrolled in kindergarten last year, we took also coming out of pre-K, because they're,
Right.
as of July 1, they're technically our students, because that's the start of the year.
Are the Hispanic students representative, like just proportionally?
I don't know the answer to that. I know last year, we were able to get transportation through a different grant for a number of kids that couldn't get here because their parents were working, and, that, was a handful of kids, that were E&L kids. I'd have to find out. I don't know the answer. I do not think they're as represented, because I think it's harder to get them here. And even when we do get a bus, it doesn't account for all. But I'll check and make sure. And I'll find out if we were able to get that transportation grant again this year. I don't know if we have, so. So it's nice to see them all out there, though. If you want to, you come by in the morning, watch them get dropped off. Not only are they happy, so are the parents, because they're dropping them off. All right, Eric, you're gonna have to tell me how I get this thing on.
Do you want us to move, Tony?
This, I think,
can we
is
just turn
stuff where you
around?
don't have to. All we have to do is turn around and look. So this is a required presentation. We did it last year. So let's see. The year before I came to Southold, which was 1920. we
No,
were
not
identified-
1920, man, 2020.
No, 2019.
Oh, okay.
2020. Thank you, though. Picking up my toes.
Not 1920, but.
So 2019, 2020, we were identified based on 2018, 2019 data. So this data is 5 or 6 years old. The kids that we were identified for are in high school. being that we had a pandemic and stopped taking tests and then didn't count tests, there is no way, there has been no way to get off of this list. And there won't be until next year, because this year, kids took tests. Last year they didn't, the year before they didn't, and the only way you can get off is if you can show improvement in different areas. So, with that comes, a lot of work. You know, these things are extensive. You see the plan that I gave you, it takes a long time, and you have to have a lot of input, and you have to meet with teachers, you have to meet with parents and administrators and the whole deal. The nice part about it is, we get granted, $100 and something thousand every year to do solely this work. It's a very narrow focus, but all of our professional development in any of these areas has come through that grant money. PLC, people that come and work with us, all of that, has been paid for by the state. And we've been able to identify things that we believe will help Southold altogether, rather than just focusing on the narrow pieces that were identified for. So part of the requirement is to present the DSIP and have it accepted by the board. We then have to send it to the state and it has to be posted. So this is the presentation. I'm not going to bore you with all of this. I just kind of told you this. It comes through the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. You look at the 5 bulleted areas, those are the areas that you can get identified for. If you have chronic absenteeism, above a certain rate of absenteeism throughout your district, something that we don't struggle with at all, you can be identified. If you have, if you don't show student growth with specific subgroups, which is how we were identified. So, like I said, I'm not gonna read through all of this. It's you've heard it before. It's, we're a TSI school on the elementary level, and we're an identified district because of that. So these are our priorities on this year's DSIP. Again, we chose priorities that we believe serve every Southold student, not any one particular group, but all the Southold students. So our instructional support team, which allows us to provide supports to students prior to going through any type of classification process because they're struggling, is something we've been developing over the last couple of years, and our teachers are, really doing a nice job. I've sat with them and listened to their conversations about how students are performing, whether it's their participation, and data doesn't have to be a bad thing. Student participation and engagement and things like that are pieces of data that you can collect that are not a test. They're good pieces of data to collect about certain students to see if we're able to engage them correctly and whether they're, interacting with the learning goals every day in class. So the first one is the development of the instructional support team. Part of our goal is to make it a K-12 team where we have consistency K-12. It allows us to transition kids from one grade to the next and still look at where they're performing with a team rather than starting all over again when they come from one school to the next school. It feeds a little bit into our transition team that's meeting. Our screener and this both feed into it, and hopefully it will help us provide more consistency for that and develop a system for annual goal setting. We are going to work as a board when we have our retreat. We'll talk more about that at another time, to set district-wide goals. We're also looking at that filtering down to building level goals, classroom level goals, and then individual student goals. And we've already started that process with our kids. They started setting goals. They were based on what they, their own choice, which some of them always will be. But in the future, they'll be able to utilize goals that we've set and that they've set as a building to work through that. And then implementing the transition program to support students entering the middle school. So we have met as a transition team multiple times. We identified areas, and then we even started visitations. We had middle school teams do visitations in the elementary school. Our goals next year are to start at the beginning of the year with the transition process, where we have some of this was put off by the fact that we were in the midst of a pandemic and we couldn't do some of, we couldn't bring extra people into rooms. We had to count exactly how many people could be in a room because they'd have so many feet each, and so we weren't able to do this the way that we would like to. We have a great team of teachers and administrators that are working together on it already, both teachers from the elementary school and teachers from the middle school, and they see the value in it, and even to the point where at the busiest time of the year probably, they took time to go do visitation in the other building. And the goal is for us to build capacity in both of our buildings about what happens in the other room, so that we can know what a student looks like coming out of the elementary school, and the elementary school can know what is expected of a student in the middle school, so that we can work together to try to make that process of coming from one school to the next easier. We've also adopted, and part of this came through the citations, we've adopted a universal screener that we use, K-8, which is a requirement as part of the statutes. We used a number of different ones that were not particularly aligned. We now use iReady with all of our kids. So we have a defined level for all of our students in reading and math. They did it twice this year. They'll be doing it 3 times a year going forward. It's computerized. It doesn't take a ton of time. And, it's one piece of information. It's not the end all and be all, because if you come in and you have a bad day, you have a bad day, and that sometimes happens. It's coupled with what happens in a classroom. It's coupled with, activities that they do throughout the year to see where our kids are at. If a student's scoring all the way up here on their screener and scoring all the way down here in the class, we have to try to figure out why. Where is the disconnect? If they're scoring all the way down here on this screener, but getting straight A's in class, we have to figure out where the disconnect is. So we've put a number of those things in place already, and they will allow us to transition. We'll be able to speak the same language when it comes to a student's math and English language arts level from 6th grade to 7th grade, which has been a difficulty in the past. But now we'll also be able to track a student who is struggling and say, hey, look, they were on grade level 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. What happened? Or 3rd, 4th grade, and then all of a sudden things started to change. What happened and why? And so it gives us good information to help work with our kids. So these are our priority goals that are identified on that long plan that I sent you guys. Our next steps, we're going to have an administrative retreat where we work with PLC over the summer. We'll be looking at district goals, building goals, and I'm going to talk to you guys about when we want to put together a board retreat, possibly with some administration also to work on goals. We want to finalize the portrait of a graduate. We're in the process of doing that. Plan our opening day message and our professional learning plan so that we can celebrate our successes, review the continuous improvement that we're making and looking to make, and introduce our teacher goal setting, at the first day, so that it's a clear expectation for all of our teachers, so that we're all on the same page and we know what we're doing going forward. So we have had a lot of people participate in this process. Our building administrators put in a lot of time to put this together. These plans, they don't make these easy, streamlined plans to put together. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of time away from us. That's why it was so important for us to make sure that they serve all of our kids and not a tiny subgroup. And the fact is that the subgroup that we were identified for was a small group of students. I believe it was less than a dozen E&L students. The one thing that it does give us an opportunity to do is to track that group through. And I have to tell you that they have our lowest graduation rate, lower than we would expect. So that the fact that they're identified the way they are by a state assessment is not something that I'm a big fan of.
Right.
The fact that they put them on our radar and allow us to look at what we're doing and how that tracks out, we can now track out over 8 years and say, okay, maybe they weren't wrong. Maybe the way they did it was wrong, but they weren't necessarily wrong in looking at how we can better serve some of our subgroups. So that's where we're at with it. If anybody has any questions, be happy to answer them.
This has to be done annually?
It has to be done annually as long as we're on this list.
And how long, I mean, when did,
It should have been 3 years. The first year it wasn't done because we closed school.
Right,
and
right,
pandemic,
right.
And I think that Southold was identified late during the year.
okay,
I know that David and Lisa and Ellen went up to Albany for training, and then when they came back and they were really supposed to start this process and put the plan together, school closed.
right.
I was notified in December of the next year that, they notified me and said, hey, where's your plan? And I didn't even know we were a TSI school at the time, because really our focus was just opening school.
Right, was
Right,
just trying,
right,
Yeah, like it wasn't, that was
Just
what
trying to get
all
through
our
the
talk
day.
was about. So they gave me an extension until the end of January. We did have it put together. That's when we started working with PLC. So we filed one last year, which you guys
I
saw.
remember.
we saw that, yeah.
This summer. This year, I'm hoping that we're off the list. I wouldn't, I couldn't even hazard a guess yet, because we just don't have, the way that, the data that they use to identify, we haven't gathered for the last 2 years.
right.
Right, so they'd have nothing to go by. If this plan works and it's better for the students,
Uh-huh.
even though it's not required, perhaps it's something we would want to continue anyway.
Well, we're, it's
Especially
funny-
if those
it's funny
students
to say
that you're
this.
talking about are,
So you guys will get what's called the SCEP. This is a district plan. Then you have what's called the SCEP, which is a school plan. The school plan and the district plan, they work together. There's similar things on them, and they, some are germane just to that individual building. So we only have to do the SCEP for the elementary school, because that's the only building that's cited. We're doing a SCEP for the high school also,
Right.
because we believe it allows us to target and put together good plans for instructional practices. One of them is, utilizing, the foundational 5 as an instructional approach, so that, it's an instructional approach that identifies the 5 pieces of a lesson that are considered important and that you should have in every good lesson. And I could even have Judy, when she's here, if it's around a board meeting, or one of the people from PLC that presents it, come in and share this information.
That would be
with the board
great.
So that we could better, I could even have one of our people who's been trained over the last couple of years do it.
will it better help us, because as board members, we've talked for years and years about that
Yeah,
disconnect between
yes,
the 2 buildings,
Yeah.
and will plans like this help that
yes.
bridge a little bit?
Because.
It seems like it's a major part of it, major
Yeah.
component of it.
So an
Transition
example,
program.
If it works,
just one
yeah,
example,
right?
I'll plan on doing something like this either at our next board meeting or the first of the year, because I'd like to we have teachers in the elementary that have been trained on the foundational 5 now for 2 years. It's gonna be rolled out with the secondary school at conference.
Can you
And
define foundational
It's called
5?
the foundational 5. It's the 5 foundational pieces that you should have in any good lesson. And what that does is, even just as administrators, when we all walk into a room, we're looking at similar things.
Right.
To gauge whether it's a good lesson or not. Like for me, I've always been taught that, you need to have that focus on content and that clear, goal for the students, but you also have to have a clear understanding, a clear indication of student engagement. If you don't have a clear indication of student engagement and they're not engaging with the lesson, then the lesson, that's what
Fail.
I'm looking for every time I go into any classroom for any lesson, whether it's in a gymnasium or whether it's in a physics class. If the kids are not engaged, now how you gauge engagement is difficult. Asking a question and having 25 kids raise their hand and then calling on one, one kid is engaged. They may all be engaged, but
But
you
you
know that
don't
one
know.
is because only one answered the question. So the Foundation 5 gives us, the Foundational 5, and it's just one of the things that we're working on with our training. That gives us the opportunity to all gauge, the important parts of lessons and know what's being looked for and know what should be taught. And that, again, provides consistency when kids come from 6th grade and 7th grade, and they know that what they're going to be looking for in the lesson in 7th grade is the same as what they look for in 6th grade. It provides them with a level of consistency that we haven't had in the past. So, these plans, as cumbersome as they are, and as much as I don't necessarily believe that, they identify the right schools, and I felt this way when I was identified as a school, as a principal. Once you get past that, you realize that it's a great opportunity.
It's a good tool.
For you, yeah, it's a great opportunity for you to utilize the $100,000 they're giving you to provide a better instructional atmosphere for your kids and to provide more consistency. And so the IST team, the universal screener, the instructional approaches that we're training on, all of those types of things will allow us to transition our kids better.
Kind of an aside, but kind of related, since we're talking about district-wide stuff. And I don't know if this exists, but I always have said we're a small enough district to me that it should. A few years ago, we were presented, I don't know if we received it, as a presentation or whatever, but that Mira up here and Mrs. McBride, I don't know if she's still McBride, I never know, down the elementary, they worked together, and I don't know if you've seen this document, and came up with a K through 12 document of, goals and learning goals and objectives and goals for every single level all the way through. So it just is something you should ask her about, because I was absolutely amazed and kept saying, why does this not exist? Because I guess my point is because it was just the two of them and it's one subject, whatever, they could do that, but it certainly helps the child if the person who's in second grade even knows what's going to be expected in 11th grade. And I truly believe that concept can be utilized for all subject areas. That my second grade teacher should know that, what pre-calc looks like. Do you know what I mean? What kinds of things, because, and they should all know that. I just think it's a really good idea. And we're a K-12 district, so I think we should be able to do more of that.
Absolutely.
So, just an aside, kind of related.
How far away, if at all, is the foundational 5 from what's currently, or is it just a name for something we're already doing?
Many of our teachers are utilizing those techniques already. We're not far away from
In
it.
both buildings?
In both buildings. The difference is, we're not speaking the same language. We're not universally all utilizing them all the time. So much of what we're doing with this type of work is not new. It's just more uniform.
Yeah, just repackaged and put a name to it and.
It's giving us a common language. It's giving us a common set of things to look at. And again, we have a couple, we have some teachers here, some of our new teachers that we've recommended for tenure that I've gotten to see 4 times, 5 times. And I took, and I'll do this next year with different groups. I took all of the special ed, I took one observation of every special ed teacher in the district this year. And I did my untenured people like I always do. Next year, I'll take probably 2 or 3 departments from the high school, and because it gives me the opportunity to observe everybody in the district, which is eventually I want to observe everyone in the district. I'd like to be, I do walkthroughs, so typically I would do the untenured people.
So this won't be a heavy lift to get, it's putting a name to stuff that people are already doing and.
And it gives our kids more consistency, because it's a more common language for our kids.
Yeah.
It's really not, like our teachers utilize many of these techniques every day, regularly. They don't always call them the same thing, they don't always, but they utilize them, we say topic sentence in elementary school, we say thesis statement in secondary school. They're the same thing, but not to a kid.
Right.
To a kid, they're 2 different things, to
Yeah.
a student, they're 2 different things. So, it's just an example, it has nothing to do with this particular.
Why is that? Why is it 2 different, why is it said differently? Would thesis
know.
just be overbearing for
It
an
might be.
element?
Thesis would be a little confusing to a.
Confusing for an
Yeah, it might
element?
be a
Believe it or
little-
not,
a little
once the
scary.
5th grade state tests came in, they started using the word thesis statement with elementary kids. And this goes to the point that you just said. Like right now, the new math curriculum and the new gen science, and you teach algebra in kindergarten, but you don't teach kids that it's algebra.
Right.
You just teach that 2y equals 4. Well, if 2y equals 4, and you sit there with blocks, 4 blocks here, and then you say, well, how many blocks would you have to have if this is going to equal that? And kids in kindergarten now, when I started teaching, it would be considered, insane to utilize algebra with kindergartners. But it's part of the kindergarten curriculum now. Now, they don't learn algebra the way that we did when we were all, like, if you're my generation in 9th grade, you took algebra, because we all took algebra in 9th grade. And now algebra is broken over like 4 or 5 or 6 years before you even get to taking algebra. And what they have found, it's like the classics. I used to have this conversation with my kindergarten teachers. You could read the classics to kindergartners and they can learn from Shakespeare and Sir Gawain and the Green Knight and any of those things if you deliver it correctly. You can hand a high school kid a classic who struggles in reading and not teach it correctly and they won't learn anything. So it's in the delivery. Our delivery will hopefully become more consistent for kids. And then we couple that with knowing their levels more accurately when they're in all the different grades, because we have a consistent screener that's computerized and nationally normed that we use 3 times a year to look at student progress, along with our benchmarks that we use every day and our regular classroom assessments and our formative assessments that we couple it all together to get a more consistent level of our kids. And then we speak a more similar language. We will hope, and then we learn more about what they do in the different buildings. That's what the visitations are for. And, like for a teacher that teaches 5 English periods a day or 6 English periods a day to go and spend some time in 3rd grade and see the way that 3rd grade works, or a 3rd grade teacher coming up to see the same, to see 3 8th grade lessons in English taught, because, an elementary person, I was one of them for many years as a teacher, your belief is that they teach the same thing 3 times in a row, and the truth is you don't. Because when I switched to middle school, I realized that I don't have the same kids in each class. So as much as I might be teaching the same concept, I teach it differently 3 times, because I have 3 different audiences in front of me, and they learn differently, and they ask different questions, and they act differently, and they pick things up differently. And so these are learning pieces that we're looking to do to help make how we instruct kids prepare themselves better for those levels.
Well, this might be the perfect time then, Paulette's always spoken of accelerating everybody. Why don't we, if we're all gonna be speaking the same language and using the 5 pillars, why not start calling it a thesis in 2nd grade? And why not saying, you don't have to go, all right, kids, we're gonna learn algebra, get your blocks out. Hey, kids, you know what this is? This is algebra. Your older brother's also learning this.
And they're doing some of that already, because the curriculum has changed in the last handful of years.
I think we could probably surprise ourselves with what we demand of our students.
Raise the bar.
Yeah.
So we are talking about the accelerated program. Terrence and I have already had conversations about it, and we'll continue those and we'll bring them to you. What we were
With
able
the
to-
proper services for those that need it,
Of course,
obviously,
yeah.
that the support is so important.
What we were able to do this year is we had people that, their kids on the screener that we made for accelerated didn't score where they were supposed to score. But then when we went back and looked at their iReady, they scored the same place as some of the kids that did score where they were supposed to score. So we gave them the opportunity to be in accelerated, because they're showing that when they're taking this measure multiple times plus their class grades, they're performing the same as kids that are in that program. So, that gave us a better opportunity to gauge where those kids are at.
It's always equity. It's not an honors program, it's an
Eric,
accelerated.
how do I turn this off?
Just click one more.
Click one more? Thank you. So that's something we're moving towards.
I mean, if it's, just make the whole curriculum harder, it's not accelerated, it's just school.
Well, and it's that, Judy and I were just saying, that it's an accelerated program, it's not an honors program. So it
No.
accelerates you to allow you your last year of school to take whatever, and I think it's important for parents and families to understand that part of it, But that's another conversation for another
It's
day.
not necessarily because,
different, yeah.
because the child is thinking at a higher level,
Yeah.
they're just being
Yeah.
demanded, to get the material, more quickly.
As a really quick aside, I see all those books over there that we just approved to surplus. What happens to those?
So what'll happen is,
Cash want them?
they go on the surplus list. Once they go on the surplus list, what we've been
Oh, okay,
doing,
okay.
and you can explain it better than me, Chuck, is we've been putting lots together for auction. The business office has been doing that with a lot of the stuff that we've been kind of cleaning up and moving out. And you guys have met with some decent success with getting things purchased. Books are hit or miss. I mean, the only place I was able to give away a large number of books when we surplus them as a principal was to schools over in foreign countries, like Africa. Now, the problem is that I had to go find an organization that was willing to pay the like $5,000 to
The
ship
other
them.
thing you could look for is areas that in the past couple of years have been hit hard by natural disasters in the country. You know, schools where, tornadoes have taken them down. I mean, when, the thing in New Orleans, I remember packing up books and books and books. Even when we had, what was the Sandy, Superstorm Sandy, I went through had providers out here go through all of our stuff and ship to daycare providers that were an hour and a half away. So a lot of times, areas of natural disaster in the country, and you might be able to still find.
So the first thing they'll do is they'll go on disposal. Then people will be able to purchase them. Then we have multiple different options. Then we can give them to our students, which we have done. I'm sure you've done it here. I've done it in every place I've ever worked. There'll be like a day after school where all the books are laid out, and the parents can come by and take whatever they want.
That's great.
We've done it with student desks. We've done it with a lot of different things. Then we can try to donate them, and then we can dispose of them after that.
Okay.
So
Are these library books, or are they
these particular ones here are
They were from the library, yeah.
library books? Are they just from the high school or elementary or both?
I don't know that it said.
They were from Mira.
Yeah, I think they're mostly here.
Oh, are they from up here? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, thank you, very
You're welcome.
informative.
Yep.
That brings us to a bunch of personnel stuff. Employees leaving the district, Brian Petty, his retirement would be effective January 31, 2024. Entering the district, full-time permanent, Rosemarie Messina, who will be the family consumer science teacher. Employees enter the district part-time temporary, technology work, Jason Wisnowski and Eric Keel. I'm just going to read through these. I'm going to do last names only, if that's okay. Consolidated Grant Coordinator Simonetti, SSD Coordinator Crimi, PSAT Coordinator Crimi, AP Coordinator Crimi, ACT Coordinator Imbriano, SAT Coordinator Imbriano, ESL Advocate Myers, Coordinator for Outside Musical Events Saprina, Arts and Education Coordinator Saprina, Elementary Yearbook Parma, Elementary Student Council, Mellis and Weinberger, Math Coordinator Wertheim, Elementary Talent Show, Krakowski and Leonard, STEAM Fair, Kimmelman and Mayer, Elementary Assessment Coordinator Buffkins, Marlene Buffkins, I should say, since we have other Buffkins. Oh, no, she's Leonard now, okay. Elementary Accommodations Coordinator Buffkins, Elementary NYSE SLAT Coordinator Buffkins, Elementary Play Club, which is chaperoning Fogarty, Finney, Panetta, High School and Middle School Assessment Coordinator, Gehring and Keel. High School and Middle School Accommodations Coordinator, Imbriano. High School and Middle School NYSE SLAT Coordinator, Masquera. Middle School Lead Teacher, Carver. Driver Education Advisor, Wisnowski. PM Supervision, Gehring. After School Detention, Imbriano. And then we've got the following advisors for the clubs. This goes to what Judy spoke to earlier, I think, too, with the... We approve them, but it doesn't mean they'll necessarily run if there's no interest, correct?
And
no
let me
interest.
just stop right here, because Founding Voices is on this list, but Founding Voices is not on the original list. that we
Because
approved.
they must not
That
do
just
funding.
means they may not fundraise.
Right, but there's Quiz Bowls on there, and they don't fundraise, so,
Quiz Bowl does fundraise when they qualify for certain things.
okay. So everything in here, everything in this then is a club that is an activity
These are ones that could
fundraises.
possibly have a need to fundraise. They won't all fundraise.
Okay.
But they could have a need to fundraise.
Gotcha, so that's the difference.
Right, so it would be, we could be clear on it, I guess.
Right.
We need to, I'll organize it differently, and I'll
Yeah,
share
That
those
would be
with you.
great, that would be
And then we'll
great.
see how we want to end up so that it's easier.
Okay, these are the advisors in the junior, senior high school. Senior class, Elwood and Rooney. Junior class, Santiago Jess. Sophomore class, Brubaker. Freshman class, Imbriano. High school student council, Panizzo? Panizzo, okay. Junior high student council, Carver. High school yearbook, Gosnell. Junior high yearbook, Governell. Founding Voices, Rooney. Interact, Mara Salmaji. Musical drama club, Elwood, Rooney, Bauman. Southold United, Santiago Jess. Quiz Bowl, Long Island Challenge, Santiago Ivan. High School National Honor Society Stall, Select Choir Bauman, Jazz Band Himmelman, Chamber Orchestra Grathwell, Sentinel Stall, First Robotics Lego, Shade Gammon, Safer Myers, Environmental Club Berber Johnson, Broadcast Media Club Wesnowski, Wellness Club Salmaggi, School Ambassador Club Elwood Johnson, Film Club Wesnowski, Chess Club Santiago Ivan, International Club Myers. Coaching for the fall 2022, Boys and Girls Varsity Cross Country Himmelman, Boys and Girls Junior High Cross Country Palmari, Girls Varsity Tennis Carver, Girls Junior High Tennis Small, Boys Varsity Soccer Sadowski, Boys Varsity Assistant Gorgonis, Boys Junior High Soccer Ruggie, Girls Junior High Soccer Salerno. Additional positions, scoreboard operator for Boys and Girls Soccer Salerno, scoreboard operator Boys and Girls Basketball Ellis, scoreboard operator Boys and Girls Junior High Basketball Sadowski, scoreboard operator Girls Junior High Volleyball Salerno, morning weight room High School Corrado, morning weight room Middle School Palmari, summer weight room Corrado, and then there's other names, Carver, Himmelman, Sadowski, Gorgonis. Is that,
That's when the coaches come in.
Yeah,
that's where they come in, but there's not additional stipends for that, or they're
No,
just?
they take each other's place.
Okay.
Like, they're not there at the same time.
Okay, and then we have substitute list, which I will not read all the names, substitute teacher aides, substitute clerical, substitute nurses, substitute bus drivers, substitute custodians, tutors, the safety committee members.
Okay, there we go.
There you see Mr. Latham. So is there, we don't have to include the regular bus drivers on this? Do we have regular bus drivers, staff bus
Yeah.
drivers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're just
they're-
regular
they're
employees.
They're just regular
Employees,
employees,
yes.
okay, okay,
You know, no different than we include our regular teachers.
okay.
Right.
A motion to accept so far?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Second, contract amendment for Dr. Anthony Morrow, to approve Dr. Morrow's contract provisions extended through June 30th, 2026. An SAA memorandum of agreement. What is this for? Is there a contract out?
No, this was the one for Terrence.
Oh, okay, okay. For the Southold Administrators Association dated June 26, 2022, and non-union benefits. I should probably read this. It forms that it will continue to grant vacation leave, insurance, and longevity benefits provided by the contract between the Southold Board of Education and the Southold CSEA to the following non-union employees: district clerk, district treasurer, and secretary of the superintendent. These non-union employees shall also be eligible for salary increases during the final year of employment compensation for unused sick and vacation time upon retirement, and for perfect attendance as specified in the contract with the CSEA. The salary for these positions shall be determined annually upon recommendation of the superintendent and approval by the Board of Education. Is that something new?
No.
We do that every year, huh? Okay. A motion to accept.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
The first one, Judy, or?
Opposed? I put Judy.
Okay.
Okay. And we have meeting dates, which look like they're all Wednesdays. Will one of those budget meeting ones also include a work session, if we're going to do them quarterly?
The work sessions are in here, so say October 12th. is
I
a work-
saw that one.
Is a work session.
And then I just didn't know what
Should
the,
have been two more.
the only other one I saw was May, and then June. So I didn't know if there was one on those winter months that we include.
Usually it's a budget presentation.
Yeah, so maybe I'm either,
I mean, if it's a short budget presentation, there's something exciting that's going on with the students.
well, usually the first January budget forum, isn't that the one that we usually?
That's what I,
It's kind of like people come and say, what do we want them
Right.
to do?
You want to do that one as a work session, too?
Also,
Is that that's the first Wednesday?
Yeah.
January.
Because why couldn't we change that and do it the second one? Because it's right after the break, so what if we did it the 11th and then did our regular meeting the 25th? Do you know what I mean? That would be the second and fourth Wednesdays.
does that affect your budget process any?
January 11th fit.
No, because it's just we look for community input and there's very few people really.
So if we did it, and that would kind of keep us on the same track and not be rushing back with all you guys trying to get stuff ready for a meeting after everybody's been gone for a few, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Okay,
very
so
good.
January 11th will be the budget forum.
Slash work session. So if there's anything exciting,
Fourth work session.
Is that okay, everybody?
is that all right? And that also makes it just a little bit more normal.
Okay.
And then we got all of them in for March. I hate March.
Is there a motion to accept those meeting dates?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Food service contract. And
6.3.
I know, this is a killer. I don't think it's ever been this high since I've been on the board.
Why is it so high?
That's the CPI, huh?
Yeah.
And that's where all our contracts are.
Does that
you know,
CPI
like,
go,
is that where we went up? We're going up Sunrise that much too.
Right.
Okay, well,
does that CPI go through December 31st?
Well, it covers the whole year.
But
It's
this,
the May CPI of the previous
Has it
12
really?
months that we have to follow through June.
we have to do that. We can't do it through December and then see what the national CPI is in.
We've talked about, you know, you just have legacy costs left.
Okay, I need a motion to approve the extension of the food services contract with Whitson for the 2022-2023 school year at an increase of 6.3%.
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye.
So can I say something about the transportation just before you do it? The 6.3% is our contract increase, it's the CPI. I had told you that they had put in a 4% increase additionally for fuel costs. They've cut that to 2% now. I did not put it in here because I've called them because I don't, I believe the 6.3 should cover some of, I don't, if they could justify how their overall increases were 5% and they needed another 0.7 because of these crazy fuel increases, then that could be a conversation we could have. They haven't called me back yet, so I was out Friday and Tuesday.
Well, and to be
but-
honest, the fuel prices were higher when school's not in session and we're not using the buses
Yeah.
either, so it's a hard one to swallow, an additional 2%.
So I just want you guys to know
well, I think
that.
they're, either that or they're trying to hedge their bets for how bad it may get. I don't know.
And
Because it is for
yeah,
a full year.
yes.
And that's the thing, and maybe.
But like we said, the 6.3 takes that in.
Should.
I
Yeah,
believe it takes a
absolutely.
lot of, like, when you look at your normal CPI increase, it's 2%.
Right.
The fact that there's a, 4% increase in fuel costs, now.
Is
it's
why the
6%.
CPI is higher.
Yeah.
Right, Chuck?
So,
That's why
yeah.
CPI was
So in
increased,
fairness
because
to
the
them,
costs went up.
in fairness to them, the doubling of fuel costs in the last year were not something anybody could have expected, and it made it extremely difficult. And I do want to be fair with them, so I've called them so that they can try explain it to me all financially. I did not put the 2% on because until I can better understand that, I wouldn't agree to paying
Sure,
it,
so right now, we're looking at 6.3.
Yeah, so the 6.3 is our contractual increase. Once I speak to them, I'll share that information with you. I'll let you know what they have shared with me. They did tell me, I called them on the 4% and said, look, CPI is going to be really high. Like, we were thinking, the hints we were getting were between 4 and 5. I didn't realize it would be this high, but I knew it was going to be between 4 and 5. And I called them and said, an 8% increase is just
So when
too
they
much.
did it, did they say CPI plus 4% when they gave you the first proposal? Or did they quote CPI?
Well, they just said 4% above contract. Above contract.
Contract, which
They
our
didn't-
contract is
yeah,
CPI.
Yes.
Perhaps they weren't even aware
They didn't.
CPI was gonna come in at 6.3.
Because then after calling them, they said, you're right. We're gonna
Yeah,
send-
they might not have been aware it
They
was
said, we're
coming
gonna
in
send
that
you a
high.
new letter. So they sent us a new letter. It's CPI plus 2%.
Plus two, okay.
And it's CPI plus 2%, after speaking to them all, might be something that
It might be realistic, it may not.
might be realistic.
Maybe not,
I just
so.
need to speak
You
to
need to
them.
know.
They need to share with me all their numbers. What are their increases for their drivers? What are their increases on their health care? What are their increases on all the different pieces that you need another 2% for fuel?
sure.
Because the 6.3% should, if those
Cover the most
other
of it, yeah.
increases are not extraordinary, which they may be, that should cover the fuel, some of the fuel or all of the fuel. So
Right.
that's the conversation that I have to have with them now. I have
Right.
called them and,
Is the
You know-
fuel, when the CPI is calculated, are energy costs incorporated in that?
when it's calculated.
Yeah, CPI.
When did they count?
Depends on who they're talking about, because they talk about,
They do it in May?
It's through May of the year.
It's through May.
They talk about minus
Fuel
food
is-
and fuel.
Fuel is calculated in the CPI, is that part of it?
Yeah, it's all-
Is that part of the formula?
But they
So
calculated
some of
it
that's
in
already
May.
in there.
That's what I would think. I just
For the
need to
year?
find out how much. They,
Exactly.
they cut the 4 to 2%.
Yeah, and when did
They should be
the
able, like the
gas start to really
4%.
Some
go
of
up?
it's in there already.
Yeah.
The last
When
month
they
of
originally
last
gave us
year.
our increased monthly
Like
number
June.
for fuel,
The prices started going out
there was
up in May.
no explanation
May and
as to
June, but you
why.
wonder
I called them and
if
spoke
the
to them. They did
CPI
explain
captured
to
the
me
increase in the fuel
Yes.
cost.
That
Yes,
was
it did.
because their
He said-
budget for,
Yes, he
their
said it. Some of it
overall budget was 4%
Oh, he
higher.
said
because
it's
they-
But that's
from
the-
the last 12 months.
But that's the idea, the big increase in the
Well, let's just
fuel
approve what
prices
we're
was in
contractually
May.
obligated to.
That's all we're
With the,
approving.
And
with
then,
they also
fine,
You know,
forecast.
May-
we've,
May looks
we've
like
never
12
No, I
not
understand that, but they
helped them
forecast as
out,
well,
so-
don't they?
We need
Yeah,
the cost.
so it's a matter of what was and forecasts.
Aye.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you can approve this now, because that is.
Yes, we're going to approve
contractually-
6.3%.
All right. so
Oh, let me read this. Seek a
it.
motion to approve extension of the transportation contract with Sunrise Buses for the 2022-2023 school year at an increase of 6.3%.
So moved.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We need a motion to approve 3 overnight trips for ROTC, Basic Leadership Training, October 7th through the 9th, 2022, Quantico, Virginia, February 13th to the 16th, 2023, and Newport, Rhode Island, April 27th to 29th, 2023. Is
So
there?
moved.
Second.
Second, John Crean. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business?
No.
Policy?
Nope.
Finance?
No.
Building?
Nothing.
Second hearing of visit? Nothing. Board member commentary? Mr. Tobin, go.
All good. Enjoy the summer.
Mrs. Boucher?
Ditto.
Mr. Latham?
Nothing at this
Doc-
time.
Dr. Crean?
Have a great summer.
Myself, have a great summer. Thank you all. A motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.